First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by WeatherRate, sponsored by AC Design.
Whatever, that's the first thing that is said here on this 4 o'clock edition of our weather stream here, talking about what's going on out across the First Coast and the southeastern United States, for that matter. It's a very active day. I'm, of course, as always, joined by our chief meteorologist, Tim Deegan.
But we don't always necessarily get to sit side by side.
Yeah, and we are looking at each other.
So we are looking at each other.
Behind the scenes.
We are paying attention to each other.
Magic, we were a little
Now,
worried.
you look like you're looking at me.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we get too far, folks, I got to give this guy credit and points. And that is that he's spending energy with us this afternoon, but he's doing the 11 o'clock tonight. You may say, well, so what? Well, he's also going to be here tomorrow morning for Good Morning Jacksonville.
I like my job.
So,
that's the key
thing.
We
appreciate your energy. I would have totally understood if you're like, Deegan, I'm in the hammock this afternoon. I got a short turnaround tonight. I understand, but
well, in that case,
thank you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, and tomorrow could be a little interesting day.
Yeah.
Not so much in the morning, but heading into the evening, we have that weather impact alert. And then on Sunday as well, due to some scattered storms that we're expecting out here.
So as a reminder to folks, although certainly there are weather impact alert days in which we're also thinking it could be a widespread severe thunderstorm outbreak, tornado outbreak, there will probably be some strong storms, right, Robert? And we can't rule out severe thunderstorms.
Yeah.
But we've put this out as a weather team. Number one, I think because it's the weekend. So more of us are going to be out and about. I think we probably would have debated Saturdays if maybe it was a weekday evening. I don't know, sort of right on the threshold. But hey, a lot of people are going to be out and about on Saturday. Plus, we haven't had much lately, so therefore we think significant enough to talk about. But we just want to make sure that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be. In fact, I'm not expecting a tornado watch. You, Robert, right?
I'm not expecting a tornado. I mean, and honestly, I would be a little not surprised, but just unexpected if we get a severe thunderstorm either.
Yeah, as far as technically. Right?
Yeah, technically.
50 knots or more.
Strong thunderstorms,
right.
What we call a special weather statement. I think that could be issued.
And so just so folks know, when we talk about strong, we're talking about maybe wind gust of like in the 40 to 60, right?
Yeah, 40, which can sufficiently ruin your outdoor plans.
And as you know, and it's one of the reasons I'm wearing this tie, lightning can ruin anybody's day.
Yep.
Right? And that's why part of me says if we're calling it a thunderstorm, well, the word storm is in there, and that implies lightning. So, of course, that can always be a problem. But obviously, from this graphic, we're looking for at least enough sun and warmth to last much of the day. I would say probably... Because, for instance, the other day, Ross said, well, Tim, you just have late on there. What do you mean by late? Well, I put that on there on Wednesday because that's my way of saying, I'm really not sure, Ross. If you see me just use the word late instead of time, that's like, no, this is really, really iffy. At this point, see what you think, Robert. At this point, I would say maybe some sea breeze type showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm might kick off in the Jax metro area after 3.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. There's the graphic. And then just poking in from the west would be maybe some organized activity firing up. But even over southeastern Georgia, it could be that the sea breeze convergence zone grabs the energy, the cooler air aloft, and that becomes the main event. But that's getting into late Saturday.
And that's really the big thing is that not everybody's going to see the rain either, right? It primarily southeastern areas of Georgia. Which, this is going to roll over things like the Fernandina Beach. Of course, we got the Shrimp Festival. I have not been to this festival.
You have not at all?
I have not been to it. It looks awesome. I love shrimp. I love shrimping. I feel like I would fit in.
Dude, let me ask you this. So if you like seafood, it's awesome.
Maybe I need
if you like to support local groups, because the groups that sell the seafood are like local churches and service organizations, so the money that's made is go to them, so that's cool. But I mean, everything is super fresh. And we could do a whole...
Really hard selling this here for me.
We could do a whole movie on shrimp. What was that movie about shrimp?
Are you talking about Forrest Gump?
That's it, yes.
I mean, the movie's not about shrimp, but I got where you were going with it.
Yes. I mean, that's the place to go if you want to see or taste any version of shrimp. But the reason I bring that up, Robert, is because, let me ask you this. I know your son is, what, 16 now?
17.
17, and he's probably the one that's supposed to be buying Mom Mother's Day gifts. But I'm curious, with Mother's Day coming up, have you sometimes been the one that stepped up to make sure Mom is...
Or reminded me.
Or then there's your mom. And you know why I bring
Yeah,
this
my
up?
wife's something
Because
too.
when I first started going to the Shrimp Fest, which is when our station used to make a really big deal about, talking about the 80s, I was a young single guy. And what I found out about is, yes, there's all the shrimp you can eat, which was awesome, but they have a jewelry art show. And so they have all kind of arts and crafts.
Ooh.
So there's all kind of stuff to buy. But if you're saving like that special arty thing for maybe your mom on Mother's Day, or you can't think of what to get Mom, I'm just throwing that out there because I started doing that as a tradition. And of course, when do moms ever say, you know, that was a terrible gift? They really don't, do they?
Yeah.
But anyhow,
if it's something from there.
Just want to let folks know that yes, it is
something-
the Shrimp Festival, but there's some great art at that show.
I have gone to like the Fernandina Beach, like they have not a flea market, kinda. It's like a neighborhood farmers market.
Yeah.
I've gone to that, and that's always a good
Yeah.
riot. And they have like little booths like that set up there.
Well, this is that to 100 times.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't want to be in a hurry getting there or leaving.
Maybe
wanna
I
give
got
yourself plenty- In fact,
plans for tomorrow.
You know the best way to go?
Probably up A1A.
No, even
No?
the better way to go. I mean, there's a reason I'm asking you specifically.
The boat.
There you go.
Yeah.
There
all right,
you go.
All right. All
You
right.
beat the traffic.
And I wonder if they got the docks available out
The
there.
docks are available. I think the only question becomes a lot of people do bring their boats up. But they do have the public docks right there.
I mean, not to get too far off topic, but that's one reason why I've been kind of hesitant on bringing the boat to a Jags game.
Yeah.
Because I know if I don't get there at like 7 a.m.,
Right.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
kind of sitting there. Let's look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, there it is.
We were talking about this earlier. Look at these storms. And it's not just all across the southeast United States where we have, by the way, look at this, absolutely from Ohio, northwestern, Erie, actually.
Well, let's face it. It goes basically almost all the way to where you were raised. Not quite there, but close. All the way down to where I got my degree, and then pretty close to where I was raised in Corpus Christi. So pretty much from my hometown to near your hometown.
Right?
That's a big stretch,
That
man.
is a stretch. Let's see. I'm trying to see what the distance is of continued watches. About 1,300 miles
Wow.
today. But Florida not escaping this. I did see the photos. We don't have permissions to use these photos here. But just trust me, it's pretty incredible. It was off the coast of the Space Coast here. So for just off of Melbourne.
Wow.
A train spotter had 3 funnel clouds lined up. And that's I don't know if the mics were hot when we came on. But Tim, what did you ask me right before we came on?
So because you're a boater, and as a forecaster, I do like to give people some good sound advice. So if you saw 3 and you're in a boat, which way would you go?
I said, not towards them.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Now I'm going to make it tougher. Suppose you're in a boat and you want to get to port, and it's between you and port. What do you do?
It depends on the movement of the funnel cloud.
And that's, I guess, where I'm really getting to is sometimes it's tough to tell, right?
Yeah.
If they're in a convergent band, which I think you thought these were.
That's what it looks like.
Then maybe they're all going to move in the same direction as a convergent band, right?
Yeah.
But I know there's sometimes, especially maybe later in the year, where there just aren't steering winds, especially down toward the Keys. I've heard from some people who fish that they've been in situations to where they're trying to decide which way to go, and to where they've said literally it looks like the 2 or 3 funnels out there are going in all directions. And it could be they are, right? It could be they're rotating around. And they've asked me, so Tim, in that situation, which way should we go? And I've said, try to stay where it's calmest. I don't know what else you would say.
The good news of water spouts, and it seems like the photos I've seen with this, it's not attached to a supercell. They were
Right.
attached to a kind of what we call fair weather water spout. It's not fair weather, but it's
Relative.
So I would gun it, not go near them.
Yeah.
By any means. And also the other thing is this took place in the morning, so probably a little land breeze set up, and then it hits the Gulf Stream. And you were talking about some cool air aloft
Yeah,
out
coming
there.
in from the east. Yeah. So there was some instability there. But yeah, pretty interesting to still when to see them pop up.
Nice little combination, separate from the severe thunderstorms, of course.
Yeah, because really, if anybody was looking at a weather map, they would see the big H, which normally they would say, "Oh, my fair weather friend," near those water spouts. Whereas that 1,300-mile line of potentially severe and actually severe weather, that is along a strong front that's actually being reinforced by then a second front coming in against the heat of the day, and boy, it is productive. Oof. Now, like you said, Robert, the good news so far is we haven't seen any tornado warnings.
Yes.
But they are putting out some rain and some hail. Speaking of hail, I don't expect we're going to have a solid event like this, but wow. But what do you think?
That's all the hail reports.
Do you think we might have some isolated hail reports maybe over the weekend?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Main reason is we have this kind of cold cutoff low that is situated towards the north. So we got lower heights, some cool air loft. So if we get these kind of convective bands, maybe popping tops over 20, 30,000 feet, because all hail needs is just to get above that freezing point and so a lower freezing point.
Freezing level lower, right? Yeah.
I think it's possible. Definitely something. Ooh.
But as far as this evening, we're watching a few showers pop around the Gulf Coast, and we certainly have. Oh, there goes the airport. We're debating about whether they would get to 89 or 90. Looks like.
This is numerical. So we actually, let me pull up the actual. So this is at the 4 o'clock hour. All right, 86 in Jacksonville. Okay. 91 over in Valdosta, though.
I was concerned about that. I wonder what Cecil Field is.
Ooh, I gotcha. Let's look at. I believe this one has Cecil on it. It's 91.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's our hot box.
And you know what's always interesting? Cecil is always the coldest spot in the morning too.
Yep.
So that if you want to live somewhere that
has extremes,
the full range.
And we've talked a lot about why. And I haven't looked at where their most recent observations say, but I know that 40, 30, 20 years ago, it was in an area of very sandy soil. And so that if we hadn't had recent rains, it acts almost like a desert climate, if you know what I mean by that, right? Mm-hmm. Because that sand doesn't hold much moisture, it can be pretty dry, and so it can drop down and it can go up pretty quick.
Well, that is, I have not been over to Cecil recently, but I do know it's because it's right next to the airport. Keeps on. Fun fact: Cecil also is a spaceport. Mm-hmm. It used to be where the shuttles were going to land, right? As a diverge airport from Cape Canaveral. That's one reason why it's so long and so big over there. So
was it 8,500?
Oh, I think it's like 3 miles. I don't know about the
seriously.
Exact. Yeah,
wow.
Cecil's runway is ridiculous.
Wow.
Good for, I guess that's one reason why you got a lot of flying clubs out there now. Good for training. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can land on this part of the runway, this part of the runway, this part of the runway in a Cessna, and you'll be perfectly fine. So why don't we jump over to tomorrow? Talk about. I mean, we've already kind of touched on this for the weekend forecast, but I mean, what do you think for tomorrow?
So I think what we're trying to say there is everybody's good through 3.
Yes.
And we're certainly not saying then that everybody's going to be stormy after 3. But after 3, keep your eye on the sky. See if this makes sense to you, Robert. We've heard keep your eye on the sky forever, right? Mm-hmm. I think maybe Benjamin Franklin came up with that. But we figured we need
really?
Could be.
Oh.
I just mean it's been around that
long. Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe a fun little historical tidbit there.
We need a new one too, right? With modern times.
Yeah.
So how about when you wake up from your nap, check your app?
There you go.
Does that work? So I think that's what we're saying, folks. We're not saying guaranteed stormy and washout at all after 3 o'clock, but showers and thunderstorms will start to pop around the area after 3. And then they'll probably be in the area through 10. In fact, I won't be surprised at all if we get a bit of a lull, but then we start seeing some activity coming at us from the Gulf even before dawn. Mm.
And that
on Sunday.
And I guess that leads to Sunday's forecast, because Sunday we have the showers in the forecast all day, right?
Right, because we could get some more morning stuff, and then and certainly the models are supporting the idea, at least some of them, that if we get enough heat, we could have pretty solid area of thunderstorms popping up
Oops.
both
A little
early
too
and then
fast.
later.
So this
Yeah,
would
so
be.
there's coming out of the Gulf overnight.
Ooh, this actually, I haven't seen this run yet. That really showing a big old.
Yeah.
I mean, the models, as we know, they're numerical guidance, computer computation. You never want to take these as face value, but it is interesting to see that.
As we get closer, it'll give us a better idea. Because so then watch as you go from the morning to the afternoon. It seems to imply that heat pops up. Now I haven't seen this newest run. Let's see what it does. Yeah, there you go. Then during the afternoon, pretty solid line pops up as well. Which also tends to indicate that that front does not make a whole lot of progress, which is why we're thinking that maybe there'll be enough moisture and energy around for maybe even a few showers on Monday. Now as much as I think most of us don't want to have our outdoor events rained out, especially in the Jackson Metro area, we need the rain big time.
Actually, I have the drought monitor up here. Let's see, because I know. Oh goodness, my that's not on your end. This is on my end. It kind of froze up there a minute. The I-4 corridor, my goodness.
And far South Florida, they're even worse shape. Well, you know, we've had a wildfire in the Ocala National Park through the week. In fact, the National Weather Service has been talking about be aware of low visibilities as you get out of Putnam County into Marion County.
Oof.
So that certainly paints that. We both talked about the fact that it looks like it's as dry in parts of the Jackson Metro area as Waycross to Glenn County, but we do know you folks in Waycross to Glenn County, you had about 3 to 5 inches of rain Sunday night and Monday morning. So I do think at least on the short term, you folks are in a little better shape up there. And then of course out toward I-75, there was a pretty good burst on Monday.
So basically, the fact that this is hitting over the weekend, it stinks. It's going to ruin your plans, but we need the rain.
Yeah, but if it happens, yep.
Farmers, I'm sure, really want it, especially towards our south. Just dry. And hopefully on Sunday, everybody kind of gets a little bit of it here. Did notice the SBC also updated, by the way, for Sunday. They did put us under a, let me see if this loads up for me. Marginal, but it's hugging the coastline.
Yeah.
That looks funky. Hold on. There we go.
There it goes.
So it hugs the coast all the way down through. So we're on. It's not this moderate to high, 1 out of 5 on the scale, but there is that chance of severe weather, right? And I think it still goes back to we're talking about the hail potential mixed in there. And also when you get a hail and you get that cold air aloft, it also leads to the chance of more stronger downdrafts on top of that, which means gusty winds.
Yeah,
right?
and really my still, as you know, Robert, my biggest concern, especially on weekends when people are just hanging outside, is the lightning. So that even if you don't get severe weather, technically, that lightning, of course, is still our biggest killer, unfortunately.
Oh, here's a fun graphic. By fun, I mean just a reminder that it's going to take the moment to load. I don't think I've loaded this one up recently, but it just kind of shows you the lightning impacts. And you know what? This is going to take probably too long. Hopefully it loads up. There we go. And this just kind of shows you the places people are most impacted.
That's a great graphic, yeah.
What always blows my mind is under a tree, because that is like, and I've been guilty of it. That's like kind of the first place that you think you want to go.
Yeah.
Because it's out of the rain. It should be safe.
Yes, but you know, I do it since you have that. I do want to make a point, because I've talked to this about to 4th and 5th graders a lot, because that's a great tip. Unfortunately, okay, here's what I'm going to get to. So suppose you're at a soccer field, kids, with your parents, okay, and instead of but it's always safest to get inside, right? But suppose you're at a soccer field, you can't get inside, and instead of one tree, there's a whole canopy of trees. Where do you go? And this is where kids, and I understand, have been confused, but if there's a canopy of trees, we'd much rather you there under the canopy of trees than in the field. What Robert's pointing out is that if it's a single tree, then it's going to act as a attraction point, right?
Yeah, so if you're in a forest, you should be fine.
Right. and you know, there's a lot of places around here like that. Like I'm thinking Arlington and other areas where you have big soccer fields, then you do have good canopies of trees. So we're not saying that the trees themselves are dangerous. You just don't want to be near anything in which, like, that object is the tallest, right? I remember before, Robert, they had the lightning detectors at golf courses, that there were some PhDs had broke it down to that not only were golf courses some of the most dangerous places to be, but they could prove that putting greens in which someone was holding the flag was more dangerous than like the fairway or other parts of the putting.
Hazard pay.
Yeah, yeah. But still, sort of just to point out that, I mean, I still think lightning is so unpredictable, but it does tend to look for point sources, right?
You say unpredictable because there has been times where I'm outside and we're not even under a storm and it still hits a bowl nearby. So I guess it goes back to what we were saying. Be smart over the weekend. I think we're over our time.
We are way over our time.
We're way over our time. So
when you wake up from your nap, check your app.
Yeah, that's it. That's the new term. Instead of watch the sky, wake up from your nap. That's going to be Tim's lasting legacy.
Yes,
here
I'm taking my nap. Yes, that's what I'm thinking about.
All right, thanks. Tim's giving you the weather here at 5, 6, and 7, and I will be here tonight at 11 and tomorrow morning tracking that chance of some storms over the weekend. So thanks for stopping by.
Okay, be safe, everybody.